Hello, welcome to the second part of this overview of the British Classic in 2025. This session will be reviewing Toyosi versus Aquinn in the 84 plus. Now, this session was quite different from the Makita and Sabrina. One, there were a couple of distinct different advantages, and to Toyosi's credit, I thought Toyosi was going to be good for the record in all three events, which kind of changes the lay of the land when it comes to attempt selection, where we chip and go over and do whatever. With that being said, what I first want to do is I want to cover off the records ahead of time. So the records before the British were 250 kilos from Camille Holland, 132.5 kilos from Rebecca Coggle, and actually 270 kilos from Ziana that she set at World Games earlier on this year, where actually, funnily enough, I handled Ziana at that World Games. So the record didn't belong to any of these ladies, except the total record was Toyosi's, which she extended, I believe, at Western Euros. So to cover all this stuff off, to be honest with you, I have been surprised by how much progress and Toyosi's general capability has been always in powerlifting. She is an immense lifter and coached by Christian, who seems to be doing amazing work with her, and they seem to be going from strength to strength. And truthfully, I went into this one a little bit blind, and just having faith in Aquinn, who I coach, to put up some huge numbers and to do really, really well, which I think she did a fantastic job of. I'm first going to walk you through her meet card. Actually, no, I'm not. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you her heaviest deadlift from prep, which was done a little while ago. So this was actually above what was above the planned kind of load cap for us. I think I originally said to her that I only wanted her to pull 270. Obviously she went and pulled 275 here, and to be honest, pulled it very comfortably. This was a big jump up from what we'd previously seen and done in training. However, the block beforehand, Aquinn had some immense lifting and done extremely, extremely well. So obviously there you'll see it went pretty well. No grip issues. She was chilling at the top. Just immense energy and amazing strength. The other thing to consider here, actually, which I failed to put on the other video, is over here in the UK we have kind of like Carpino selection criteria, which you can actually find on the British Powerlifting website under policies. So underneath our policy documentation, you will see that we have a team selection procedure. Now, under this team selection procedure, basically we filter through World's team, then Euros, and then any other events, things like Western Euros or Arnold's, if we get to do those and things like that. So there are a number of different Carpino or selection criteria that you could go through. The one for the 84 plus, because it's been so highly contested at the top here, a World's Carpino 3 score is the average total of the third place finisher at the previous 3 World Championships. So we're in 2025 right now, so it would be 2025, 2024 and 2023. Third place, average those totals out of the 3 years, and it gives you 680, which I didn't think either of the ladies were going to be quite capable of. I think they were both going to fall slightly short, but I definitely thought they'd both go over 649, which is actually, over 10 kilos over what the British total record was at the time. And I both thought they were going to be capable of doing that. So that is a moderate requirement that existed kind of in the minds of that. And both lifters, if you haven't seen the session, both lifters covered that off by their second deadlift. So that wasn't an issue whatsoever. We will close this for now. All right. So we're going to jump straight in. Now, Aquinn on initial prognosis here was in front off of openers, but we took a slightly smaller jump than Toyosi. So Toyosi jumped 20 kilos from opener to second, and we only took a 15. You'll see that this thematically played out across the day a little bit, where they would jump relatively big from first to second, and then a much smaller jump from second to third. And this happened a few times throughout the day. And to be honest, I really had to do my best to not pay too much attention and just kind of focus on Aquinn, because it was atypical, should we say. Generally speaking, you're going to want to jump a certain percentage. Even with lifters that like to jump a little bit bigger, you generally won't see a 20 and then the size of the jump that they took after this, which I won't ruin if you haven't watched the session. But Aquinn there, absolutely blown up 247.5, which was only 2.5 kilos off of the British record. So I just loaded basically what I thought we should take minus a little bit. So in my head, I went 260, and then I went, okay, what's the most awkward number that I can jump to kind of throw them off and be really, really awkward? Now, obviously, the other thing that kind of happened here was we were going before Toyosi. So Christian, who was coaching Toyosi on the day and coaches Toyosi, would have the information of whatever jump we took, right? So when we jumped to 58.5, I was like, okay, cool. Well, I think Toyosi is going to be capable of benching 133 based off of everything and based off of historical jumps that they take. You'll see here the record was at 132. Her opener was at 120 on the bench press. Let me flick through here. I've got it up somewhere. So Toyosi's opening bench press was at 120, but they have typically gone 7 and then 5, which would mean that he'd be right at 132. So 7.5 and then 5.5 wouldn't be impossible. So I thought, okay, cool. What we'll do is we'll take a kilo over just to potentially neutralize that jump. So we went, instead of taking the chip, we did the chip plus an extra half kilo just to, kind of, I guess, try to neutralize that. And actually, again, I got lucky here because Toyosi squats this really, really well. And then Christian only adds half a kilo onto the chip instead of a kilo. Obviously, he's more privy to Toyosi's lifting, knows a little bit more about that. So you'll see that I put in 258.5, and then Christian here jumps into 53 and only goes for the half kilo over the record. So you'll see here Toyosi comes out and does 253, takes the half kilo above the record, and again hits. And I think that's one of the biggest things that everybody has to realize, is that all of this chat about records and blah, 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 and kilo chips and whatever only matters if you can hit. So if you're putting your lifter in a position where they can't hit, or they miss a lift, or that you just put too much weight on the bar as a coach, then you've messed up, right? Again, it only kind of matters when it's like within a capability, or they've got a certain number, but they don't have the next denomination above the 2.5 that I mentioned in the last video. So Toyosi here, to her credit, blows up, squats a new British record, and, it's excellent. It's deep, strong, pushes through. Knowing a little bit of Toyosi's lifting was probably relatively close to a limit lift, maybe 55.5, maybe 56, which again, had that been the case, it could have changed the day. Christian looked extremely happy there. And then scrubbing through to this, Aquinn was in a bit of a different mindset this meet. She really, really was just kind of focusing on her. She didn't ask about any of the numbers, she didn't ask about any of that stuff. She just showed up and just kind of did her thing, which I think served her really, really well. And obviously this is a 5.5 kilo jump on what Toyosi just did. And yeah, to be honest, would give us a subtle 3 kilo advantage here in front of where they were, again, on prognosis, if you're looking at the right hand side of the screen. So again, credit to Aquinn, this was such a good squat. Immense. I think there's more in this squat. You'll see at the end of the session that there's a little bit more to review, and hopefully we'll be able to do something like this for some other big meets in the next 12 months. But blows it up here. Great squat. Really, 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 really good. Confident finish. 3 white lights. Amazing work. So you'll see that here, again, both the ladies hit 3 for 3. And on prognosis, we are 3 kilos in front. But I assumed that Toyosi was going to have a bigger spread than we did. So generally speaking, I'm a little bit more conservative on bench press jumps. In the type of load ranges that we're seeing here, it's either going to be a 5 and a 2.5, or a 5 and a 5, or even a 2.5 and a 2.5 if the opener looks really ropey. Whereas Toyosi's bench press attempts are generally a little bit less conventional. Again, I've seen this from just being at lots of meets, but also you can see these things in open powerlifting, where these things happen, and we can see how the cookie crumbles, and you'll see how much progress she's made in such a short amount of time. It's immense. 150 kilos onto a total, 150.5 kilos to a total in less than 2 years, which is just incredible. So So that's where we were. End of squats, that's kind of how the cookie crumbled, and then we were kind of going into bench. And I just wanted to show the overview here. So Aquinn opening with 115, 3 kilos in front. We didn't have lot number. You'll see that Toyosi's lot number is 1 higher than us, which meant that if we both were opening at 250, she would go afterwards, which in a battle where it's so close, that's such a huge advantage because you can just jump and either match if you're in front or jump 2.5 more to catch up. And Toyosi has body weight. So different from last year's British where we had lot number. This year she had lot number. Unfortunately, we were still able to come away with the win, but just immense lifting all around. So I'm going to scrub through to the third bench here. And here is Aquinn's third. No, this is Aquinn's second. Okay, so here's Aquinn's third, 125. You'll see that Toyosi went for 130, but I actually thought it was going to be 133, which would have squeezed that gap where we had that 3 kilo advantage, right? Now, what you will also notice is, hopefully we can get another prognosis screen that comes up. You'll also notice that Toyosi's opener is set at 247.5, and our deadlift opener is set at 250. Now, oftentimes what can happen, especially when a lifter has a lot number advantage, there can be a little bit of gamesmanship when it comes to the changing of the opener and playing around with that. Again, it happened last year. I kind of always talk Aquinn through what might happen and how we need to be kind of flexible with our deadlift opener. Fortunately, the way that Aquinn was moving, I think, to be honest with you, she might have been the most peaked I've ever seen an athlete or had an athlete lift on any given day, on this particular day. I mean, she normally peaks pretty well, but to see Aquinn peak as hard as she did and do as well as she did is just sensational. And I am so happy with it. And I think credit to her, a lot of it is to do with, how well she applied herself on the day. So you'll actually see here that Aquinn had a 10 kilo spread. So she had a 10 kilo difference between her opener and her last finishing lift. And so did Toyosi. But how the two ladies got there was slightly different. Aquinn jumped 5 and then 5, whereas Toyosi jumped 7.5 and then 2.5. Now, credit where it's due. If Christian kind of wasn't sure where Toyosi was going to end up, you would need to take jumps similar to this if you wanted to end up at 133 for the record, which they could have done and had advantage because they would have had body weight and had the same total. However, obviously it just wasn't on the cards that day. Maybe 3 kilos more could have gone, who knows? But also, like I said earlier in this video, you have to be in it to win it, right? You have to be in it to stay in it. And if there's one mislift between these two ladies, the day could be over, much like when Aquinn had some mislifts at All England's when her and Toyosi last went head to head. So I'm going to scrub through here. So I want you guys to pay attention to this little bit here, and that is these openers. Now, these openers are not going to stay the same. And again, like I said, there's a little bit of gamesmanship with regards to this. So what actually ended up happening was they decided to try and change up at the last second. And I had somebody who was helping me out on the day, one of the coaches. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to give away my secrets too much. But I basically had somebody hang out near the table with a potential change to make sure that we were going to go afterwards. I was supremely confident in Aquinn's deadlift on the day. And I kind of just needed to make sure that we just maintained this gap throughout the time. And I was confident with Aquinn probably pushing up as heavy and as high as maybe 260 as an opener if we had to. You'll see here that I have quite a big range. 240, 247.5, 255. Aquinn put her opener in at 250. And then we were going to basically plan to, adjust and go as high as we needed to. You'll also see that this deadlift meet card didn't actually end up panning out the way that I had originally intended. And that was because Aquinn was on another planet this day. And yeah, just did some absolute insanity. So what you'll actually see is in this little break here, So obviously I just highlighted the original opening deadlifts. And then if you look here, Toyosi's gone from 247 up to 252, and Aquinn's gone up from 250 to 255. So what this meant is that we were able to maintain and establish a lead. And you'll also see that what I end up doing is I end up kind of checking the the score sheet. Like basically, as soon as Toyosi goes out and lifts her lift, I see, okay, what's our plan, and then what have they done? Because if Toyosi does something or Christian does something funky and kind of throws us off the scent, it can be a little bit difficult. You'll also see that Toyosi is at this time the current total record holder with 638.5, which was Aquinn's total record of 638. So to show how close these two are, yeah, I mean, two amazing lifters, and I'm so glad that they've got each other, because they're definitely pushing each other forward. Again, immense opener from Toyosi. I don't know about you, but it's not very often that you see anybody move 250 kilos that comfortably, let alone, a female lifter. So jumping in here, you'll see Aquinn comes out for 255, and similarly to Toyosi, just absolutely throws the weight around. We've really been working on on Aquinn's deadlift, and I mean, it's paying off. The way that she's improved her pull is absolutely outstanding, and I'm so happy. So I check here and I see, okay, what jump have they made? They made a 15. If I made a 15, it would take me level with 270. So I thought to myself, well, we could do 15, or we could just extend the gap that we've got to 3.5 kilos instead of 3 kilos. So I was like, cool, we'll take the record. And then that kind of forces Toyosi a little bit into a bit of a corner, right? They have to make a bit of a decision after that, because they could take 71, but then we've already got a kilo advantage from the squat, or we're half kilo in front there, and then we're half kilo in front here. So we're actually 1 whole kilo, which would mean that basically the tricky position that puts them into is we've got a 3 kilo advantage. So if they hit this, they're then kind of like, okay, well, do we just pull again and just make Aquinn pull again? So in this particular situation, with us going to 70.5 and having the kilo here, they do have a half kilo here, but that would mean then that they have to basically go a kilo over what we've done, right? So they could match. So they could go 3 kilos and go 71, and then all Aquinn would have to come out and do is go to 271.5. Or they have to then load whatever you think they've got and then make us pull again. And again, I don't want to ruin the scene here and kind of tell you what happens, but we will scrub through to the ladies' second pull. So you'll see that Toyosi here, 267.5, we've gone to 70.5. This is actually also to extend both their total records, again, to demonstrate how much improvement they've made. This is a 12 kilo total improvement for Toyosi on her second deadlift. She didn't even need 3 deadlifts to do it. So immense lifting, 650.5, really, pushing things forward. And then here Aquinn will come out and pull 270.5 to get her British deadlift record back, and to hopefully kind of apply a little bit more pressure onto the kind of decision making that the other folks have to do. The other thing that is kind of useful about these kind of slightly off angle jumps is it's not just quite as simple as, oh, we just need half a kilo, or we just need this or that or the other, right? They have to do sometimes additional maths. And again, this is stuff that's only really useful when it comes to, these tiny margins with, some of the best, which I would definitely credit these two to be. But it is interesting to me, at least. And, I'd like to share my in the trenches experience here. So jumping into this, the interesting thing about this is Aquinn did not know what weight was on the bar. And obviously this is only 4.5 kilos less than the heaviest pull she's ever done in prep. So to see this and to see how this moved, I immediately thought to myself, okay, well, look, if Toyosi doesn't hit her third deadlift, priority number 1 is always win, right? It's always do the least weight you need to do to secure the win. But when this moved like that, I was like, okay, I think Aquinn might be good for the world record deadlift today, unofficially, which is set by Natalie Lalai of Australia, which is 287.5. So my two thoughts were, okay, if Toyosi hits, we just do whatever the minimum is that Aquinn needs to do to secure the win. We're kind of in the driver's seat. We had just extended the total by a few kilos from Toyosi 650.5. So we're 3.5 kilos in front at this point. The Christian and Charlie, who was helping with Toyosi and the coaching side of things there, put in 302 as like a placeholder, which is just like, it's basically like a game of chicken that you play, right? But because we're in front, and because after this I was confident that Aquinn's pull was going to be ginormous, I could just sit there and wait. So Christian and Charlie are kind of forced into a situation where they have to think, okay, what's going to make Aquinn pull again, but what is actually going to push Toyosi upwards? Because at this point here, it basically makes no difference, right? We can just sit and we can just wait because we've got a 3.5 kilo advantage. So if they do go 3.5 kilos up, then we can just go and just, you know, match whatever we need to do the thing. And obviously if they don't hit the last deadlift, then we can load whatever for, you know, whatever I think is the top end pull for Aquinn on that day. Or, you know, whatever is significant. So you'll see, we'll scrub through and you'll see that the very, very last pull that they go for is 276.5. So that is a bit of a weird number. And it's basically an amount that's going to put them in front. So you'll see here that I hadn't changed down yet. So our prognosis is BS. So you don't need to worry about that. But basically it's 9.5 more. It's 9 kilos more than what Toyosi just pulled, which meant that we would then have to go and pull, I think, 5 kilos more, or maybe 5.5 kilos more, something like that. I haven't done the exact maths, but at the time I remember it being like, okay, if she hits, then we have to go out and do a certain amount more. But also, one thing to note is in a powerlifting competition, I can't load any less. So it's a rising bar, right? So this game of chicken that we mentioned about playing, when Toyosi loaded up 276.5, it basically means that we would actually end up having to go over that pull to go again to beat her. So actually, I think for us it would be 277 because I think 9 kilos plus the 6.5 or whatever, it would mean that we would kind of then go and cover that. So actually, this is probably really, really good number selection in terms of like the position that it puts us in. I think it would force us up to, you know, 660 to win, which would be 6 more kilos. But then with that 6 kilo differential, so looking at this, 660 would beat the total, but we can't load 6 more kilos. We'd have to go to 77 because we can't match a rising bar because they have a higher lot number than us. Anyway, I'll let these last couple of clips play out. Now, don't forget that 287.5 is the official world record. So for Aquinn to unofficially pull a world record, she'd need to pull 288, which was kind of the number that I was hoping that I would get to load if Toyosi missed. And had she hit, we would have to just load 277 for the win, I believe. I can't remember the maths off the top of my head, but I had it. And you'll see that I'm actually sat in the background here. And I actually said to the table, hey, I'll need this if she hits, or I'll need this if she misses. Toyosi got so close to locking it out. And I mean, what a day it was from both of those ladies. Immense lifting. So at this point here, Aquinn had secured the win. She was already in front on total, and pushed Toyosi just a little bit over the edge. And then you'll see that we change here to 288, which basically was like Aquinn getting her flowers, and getting to have a little bit of fun. This was also an unofficial world record deadlift, and actually got Aquinn quite close to that 680 that is Worlds 3. To give you an idea of how good both of these ladies are, Toyosi finished third as overall best lifter, losing out only to Joy and Bobby. Joy Namani and Bobby, who are both like future British Powerlifting Hall of Famers, if they aren't already. And, you know, perennial all-stars on both the world stage and very much on the British stage. So to give you an idea. And then Aquinn finished fourth overall with 114 point something GL after this pull, which is just extraordinary. So not only is this going to extend her deadlift record that she just took at 270.5 up to 288, but it's also going to exceed the total record from, as you'll see up here, 638.5, which was where it was before this competition, all the way up to 671.5. And I mean, as much as the scorecard might not show it right at the end here, the level at which both of these ladies are operating is sensational. And I am confident that if they both hang around in the sport and stay at it, they're going to continue to push each other forward at an immense rate for years and years and years. I mean, it wouldn't honestly surprise me if they were both in the 700s this time next year at the British, which is unheard of. I remember when, you know, the 84 plus ladies were first like into the 700s and people couldn't quite believe it. But what you'll see here is, I don't think this is a limit lift for Aquinn. The handler, I've actually not watched this clip back. The handler just absolutely losing it, holding his head. I mean, yeah, ridiculous. And I mean, it's my hope. I mean, it was an absolute joy to share this moment with both Mark, Aquinn's new husband, and I don't know if you see this. I said to him afterwards, I was like beckoning him to come through. I was like, mate, come and give her a hug. You'll see me in the background here being like, come through. But he didn't see me. And then Aquinn just dashes straight out and understandably gives him a massive hug. And I mean, yeah, what a day. So lucky to have been able to share that moment with Aquinn and Mark. And so grateful to be part of something so cool. So yeah, it really does take a village, and I am so happy to, you know, be a small part of both Makita's and Aquinn's success here. And yeah, I mean, you'll see that, right? I mean, 115 GL from 84 plus is absolutely nuts, and then for Aquinn to be at 114.32 and beating out some other amazing lifters that we've got in GB for that fourth spot is just sensational. And both these ladies really taking this class to new heights, and I hope that they keep at it. So if you've watched to the end, thank you so much. I'm going to try and figure out a way to get this onto YouTube or Instagram or whatever, but 26 minutes is quite a long time to pay attention to a game day review, but hopefully it was useful. If you have any questions, please just let me know. And yeah, thanks for staying tuned.